Dan Ives of Wedbush remaining bullish on Nvidia, writing, Nvidia is the indisputable Rocky Balboa champion of the AI revolution, and that is not changing anytime soon on the chip front. Pleased to say that Dan joins us now. Dan, great to see you.
Great to be here.
Okay, I want to ask about the post, because you had that post of them saying, like, congrats, Google, but we're better. They also responded to Michael Burry's takedown of the depreciation thing. It kind of gives a feeling that, like, Nvidia cares about the fact that their share price is falling, and they're trying to fight back against it. What do you make of this sort of PR push they're doing?
Yeah, so I view it a little differently. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, like, there's one godfather of AI, and that's Jen-Hsun. I think Jen-Hsun, right now, it's the recognition that they're transparent. In other words, like, Nvidia is not trying to hide anything. They're ultimately saying, like, hey, we are out there front and center, and it just comes down to demand and supply is 12-1 for their chips. I mean, I saw that being in Asia for the last 3 weeks. So them congratulating Google, AMD, and others that are going to be successful, it continues to be Nvidia's world, and everyone else is paying rent. But the reality is that they are not going to sit there and hide behind some PR when it comes to, whether it's Burry or anyone else calling it a bubble. I mean, Jen-Hsun's going to be out there front and center because, in my opinion, it continues to only be 10:30 p.m. in that AI party that goes to 4 a.m.
But, this makes me think a lot of Intel. Back in the day when we were all rushing out to get the 386 and then the 486 and maybe the Pentium, right? But then Apple was like, why are we giving them these margins? Let's make our own chips. And so did everyone else. And now Intel obviously needs a sort of government bailout in the form of a stake purchase. Why isn't Nvidia vulnerable to the same kind of vertical integration at these, if Meta, if Google, if Amazon all make their own chips, as they are doing?
It's a great point, and I get the comparison. They're 4 years ahead, in my opinion, of really anyone else in the world, including Huawei, right? So it comes down to, like, now will there be a gap narrow? Big tech's going to continue. They're going to go and make their chip. You'll see that they'll vertically have that ecosystem, and that's a great thing. Because the reality right now is like 12-1, demand and supply. In other words, Nvidia doesn't have enough chips to ultimately meet demand, right, relative to what we see. But it speaks to my point. It's about the second, third, fourth derivatives of AI playing out. You have $3 to $4 trillion that's going to be spent in the next few years. To call this a bubble, it's wrong. As someone like myself that covered tech stocks in the late 90s, it's a 1996 moment, not a 1999 tech bubble moment. That continues to be our view.
How does that $3 to $4 trillion of spending get funded? Famously, Sam Altman was asked on stage a couple of weeks ago how he's going to fund his $1.4 trillion in CapEx plans with only $13 billion in revenue, and he just got so angry that he declined to answer the question, right? I see that, ChatGPT has, right now, I think, they have a $20 charge, right, for the account that I pay double because I have a work and a personal account, but they're not making massive amounts of revenue. 35 million people are signed on, and it could turn out to be like the Friendster or even maybe the MySpace of AI. Where does this revenue come from?
Yeah, well, see, look, today, it's still enterprise. When we think about the enterprise, only 3% of companies have gone down the AI path. So when you look and that's just in the US. Globally, that's just actually starting with sovereigns, what we're seeing in Asia. So when I look at OpenAI, I view it as, it's not just going to be a ChatGPT. It's about what that's going to be on the enterprise, consumer. The consumer applications haven't even started relative to
But it has to come quick, right? I mean, remember when the .com bubble burst, it took years and years to make up the revenue that we needed to pay for the fiber outlay in the beginning.
Yeah, and I think for OpenAI, for every dollar that they're spending in terms of the stakes that they're taking, just like Nvidia, they'll get $12, $15, $20 back in terms of revenue.
If we're, though, talking about who wins the enterprise race, I mean, wouldn't that be Google, though? They already have relationships with 40,000 companies. And then when it comes to consumers, they know that name so much better. I mean, increasingly, obviously, they know about OpenAI and Sam Altman and ChatGPT. But especially with that enterprise relationship, who's to say that OpenAI wins out on that horse race?
Look, I think there's going to be many winners, right? I mean, and from Nvidia on the chip side. When you talk about Microsoft, where they stand on the hyperscale, Oracle, and I think that stock's been way oversold here. But look, the reality is, you go back earlier this year, the New York City cab driver was bearish on Google. Now look at it, because it's my view, it's not just on enterprise with GCP, with Google Cloud, with what's happening on chips along with Broadcom, but also, you look out, they're going to ultimately have that Apple deal. I mean, Apple is going to have to bet on Gemini as their AI partnership, which is another benefit here. So I think it just speaks to our view is that, it's not just about Nvidia. And I believe Nvidia ultimately is a stock that goes much higher here, 225, 250. But it's about the second, third, fourth derivatives playing out across, I think the world. And for the first time in 30 years, the U.S. is ahead of China when it comes to tech.
So Nvidia at the lowest in the month, is this just like the most incredible buying opportunity that we're going to see for this company?
Every time this sells off, you own it, because it's my view, it's $5 trillion and ultimately it's $6 trillion. Because look, there's only one godfather, right? And that's Jen-Hsun. And there's one chip in the world fueling the AI revolution. And that continues to be Nvidia. There will be other, anytime if there's a DeepSeek moment, you'll have Google TPU. There's going to be other things that happen, but nothing is going to get what I view as really this Rocky Balboa of the AI revolution, which is, Jen-Hsun and Nvidia.
You must have the most fun Thanksgiving Day conversation around the dinner table. I'm trying to get invited over to the Ives household. That sounds like a good time.
Look, and again, the goal is a lot of food, a lot of sports, and maybe some AI talk here and there.
What more could you want?
Who's Penn State playing this weekend?
And we play Rutgers, and then we'll have our new coach by early next week, and and then we start the upward climb, which I'm very optimistic.